ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mawusi Ragland, known as WuRag. I am so happy to be here with you all today. So thank you so very much. I know I have been off the scene for a little bit, but I am back and you will have new episodes. So thank you so very much for joining me today. Today I have a very special guest and her name is Christy Kanooble, and she's going to share her story of trauma and how she faced it and how she's living after. So let's welcome Christy Kanooble to our show. Thank you so very much, Christy. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, and you are welcome. So how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling pretty accomplished. I feel like my life's on a good track now, so I'm pretty positive every day. So.
Oh, I love that. All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What brings you on today? What is your message for the world?
So I had been through a traumatic experience when I first launched into adulthood, and I didn't say anything about it. I didn't tell anybody that loved me. I didn't go to law enforcement, and I let it eat me up inside, and it almost killed me, honestly, by harboring that kind of a secret when it wasn't necessary to hold on to it for that long.
Wow, I love the way that you said that. But at that time, it felt like it, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from and how was your childhood like? What was it like growing up?
Well, I am one of three girls. We're called Irish triplets. We are 15 months apart. Um, as most people know, there's always a player one and player two in video games, but there isn't a player three. So I spent a lot of my time by myself. My mom worked a lot. She was a single parent, and my sisters kind of hung out with each other. But then you have me, who's that third party, ew, baby sister. I call it third child syndrome, where, you just weren't validated with anything you said or that you felt. Nobody cared. Nobody listened. You're the baby. Nobody takes you seriously. Um, I did have a history of abuse for a little while, and that it did affect me a lot in the way I express myself. Because again, I didn't feel like my opinions or what was happening to me was valid or that anybody cared because nobody ever listened. I taught myself to read at 5. So, uh,
Wow.
yeah, I went through that abuse very young. And as soon as my mother found out about it, of course, it ended right then and there. But I didn't say anything either about that because again, I didn't feel like anybody was going to care or was going to believe me that this was happening to me. So I just stayed quiet. Whereas I know now as an adult, if I'd said something, it may not have gone on as long as it had.
And who was it? Who abused you?
One of my mom's boyfriends. My mom and my dad split when I was 5. And my mom had a boyfriend, and in all other ways, shape, and form, he was a good man. He just didn't know how to handle children when it came to his anger. So I usually got the brunt end of that, honestly, being the smallest end, the one with the worst attitude, I guess you could say.
And how old were you at this time when it started?
I was 5.
And how old were you when it stopped?
I'm going to say around 11 or 12. When my mom found out, we moved immediately. Like he was at work and we packed all of our stuff the same day and we're gone.
When
So,
you were little, you didn't tell your mother. You said that you were afraid to tell her that you thought you were neglected already and overlooked already. That's how you felt as a child.
right.
Did you feel that she wasn't going to believe you?
I mean, in the mind of a 5-year-old, it number one didn't seem abnormal because I didn't know what normal parenting was. I didn't know how it was supposed to be treated. So to me, it wasn't out of the ordinary that these things were happening to me. And I felt like if I did say something, it would just be either shoved off or I wouldn't be believed or it would get me even more trouble because now I'm causing an issue type of thing.
Okay.
So,
Your
and I
mom,
wanted
was
to,
she the type, not to cut you off,
yeah,
Christy,
yeah, go ahead.
but was she the type, was she the type that did not spend time with you as a child growing up?
It's not that she didn't spend time with me. We had our moments. It was that my mom worked, you know, all the time. even when she didn't have her boyfriend, she was constantly working. So there was neglect there in the way of, looking at parenting, but in my eyes, it wasn't intentional.
Right. And
So
she didn't say to you ever, if something were to ever occur, someone hit you, to tell her. She never sat down and ever said that to you as a child growing up, huh? I mean,
it was,
all right,
it never got brought up for her to even mention it.
right. Okay. So what happened after that? So after you told mom, what were you, what happened after that?
My mom bought a house. It was her first one. So we moved and she worked all the time. And it was just kind of me and my sisters at the house or at school or running the streets like we weren't supposed to while my mom was at work. Um, just doing the stuff that we're not supposed to, smoking cigarettes and hanging out with our friends on street corners and, just being kids with no real guidance of what's proper and what's not.
Right. So what was like when you became a teenager?
When I became a teenager, my mom, this was right after eighth grade, actually, my mom had met someone new. He was great for her. She was happy. So we actually ended up moving from Philadelphia, where I'm born, raised, and still am, to Croydon, which is right outside of the city. My mom didn't want us in the city anymore. She didn't like the atmosphere for us because of the stuff we were doing. So we moved out there, and things were great for a little while. But then, as inevitably it does, there were problems. Um, my mom was not there a lot. She was going to concerts and, just living her life as she, in my opinion, should. But at the same time, I'm at a crucial age as a teenager where I really need you here. I need guidance. I need to know, especially with men, like what's right, what's wrong, and the sense of beauty, what I should be doing, what I shouldn't. School, I always kind of had for myself. I've always been, a scholar. So, I mean, in that regard, she knew she really didn't need to help me much. But, even filling out college applications, it was like I could have really used you here, and I had to rely heavily on my school guidance counselors and stuff instead. So, eventually, it turned into a bad situation again. I'm up late in the morning, like till late in the morning, right before I get on the school bus, and they're fighting, screaming out, and hollering, and me and my sister are, trying to keep the peace. So there's a lot of sleepless nights and stress, and just no time to be a kid and a teenager.
So your childhood was rough, and so was your teenage years. And a lot of people can relate to that. I can relate to those crazy times and those crazy days. So yes, I understand. And I'm sure our audience can understand as well. Now, Christy, you said that you met a man when you were going to college
Yes.
and something happened.
Yes.
What happened? Tell us a little bit about that story, please.
So when I left for college, it was 10 days after I graduated high school. I was still 17. I still was not even an adult yet. It was 2.5 hours away from home in the Poconos. And I spent a lot of time like by myself. I had people there that I knew, but I used to sit outside the library a lot to do my homework and drink coffee outside the coffee shop. Um, when I was doing these things, there was a guy that I would always see. He'd hold the door open for me, or we'd wave as he went by. We'd make small talk, things like that, and we became friends. His name was Dave, and he told me he went to the school, and he liked to be in the library like I did. I always seemed to bump into him, which wasn't abnormal because he was an older man. I didn't think that was out of the ordinary because there were a lot of older aged people who went to my school but didn't live on campus like we did.
You're talking about
Um,
college campus.
yes, the college campus. Yep.
Yes,
So,
in college, there's no age discrimination.
right, right.
Right.
Uh, well, I mean, in my head, I'm not used to seeing that. So at 17, I'm just like, why is this old man here? But then I'm like, oh, there's a lot of them here, you know? um, but throughout the next maybe 6 months, we gained, a friendship. We talked about his life, his family, things that were going on with him. I talked about things that were going on with me. And got to the point where it was maybe early spring, where it was still kind of snow on the ground and cold. and it was late leaving the library. There's a lot of hills in the Poconos, and I'm kind of lazy.
Wait, one
So
moment. How old was he, Christy?
if I had to guess, I'd say at that time he's probably around 35 to
And you were
40 age.
17?
And I was 17. Yep.
Christy, he's old enough to be your dad.
Well, I don't look at age when I look at friendship, because that's, I mean, that's all it was. It wasn't like we were dating or anything. It was
Right,
just a
right. I
pure,
know.
you
Right.
know, it was just a
You-
pure friendship. So,
no, I understand that, but he was really, did he look old to, because 17 with a 35-year-old.
yeah, I mean, to me at that time, I thought
You're
things
just like,
were
this is my
normal.
school friend. This is someone that I met
Yeah,
in college.
exactly. Like, oh, somebody likes to go to the library with me. Maybe I won't have to sit here by myself anymore every day, kind of
Because you
thing.
didn't, right, you didn't have other friends that went to that school at that time.
Not as many to where I was always with somebody. There wasn't enough people that I knew there. It
Okay.
was, yeah, it was basically my first semester, so I hadn't really gotten acclimated into my school yet. Um, so it was just the people that I met either during the summer program or that I already knew, and that was a few, very few.
Right.
So when they're in class and stuff, I'm by myself.
Okay. So go ahead.
So in that early springtime, he had left the library with me. It was just a regular day. I happened to run into him as I was leaving, and he offered me a ride to my dorm, which, looking at it now, should have been a red flag. But at the time, I built a friendship with this man. I see him all the time. It's not a big deal. My dorm's a few blocks away. But that is not how things had played out. He, instead of turning onto the road that would take me to my dorm, turned onto the highway instead. And when I mentioned or pulled out my phone that something was weird, he snatched it out of my hand. And it was kind of in that moment where my head was like, oh no, like this
Something's
is
wrong.
not good. Yeah, like red flags everywhere. Just, I was freaking out. I immediately started crying. Because I was like, no one knows where I am, because it was true. No one knew where I was. I didn't text people to tell them where I was going. No one needed to know that information. And I usually called my mother at night, so I hadn't even spoken to her yet. So no one knew what was going on. And he drove up and down this highway, just basically making me feel worthless, like I deserved this, and still no clear indication of what exactly this was, other than him driving up and down a highway. So he kept pulling off onto these guardrail roads in the Poconos, where you kind of go up and it's just a dirt road to the woods and just guardrails. You can kind of see over the mountain from there. And he kept trying to pull me from the car. It happened about 3 times where he would try to keep pulling me from the car. And I'm a very headstrong woman, so I wasn't going down without a fight.
Right.
The first 2 times he did it, I was not having it. He got frustrated. He would get back in the car. He would go back down the guardrail highway to the highway, and then just go up and down the highway again, and just try to bring me down more and more and more. And as the
Like
night went
on
on,
what? What was he trying to do?
I think he was just trying to break my spirit, honestly. Just kept repeating, "You'll never see your family again. Um, you should have told somebody where you were going. Why would you get in the car with someone like this?" And things like that, like things that he knew would trigger me to feel powerless in the situation. Um, Unfortunately for him, that doesn't work for me. So as the first and second time this happened, he couldn't get me from the car. It was just a very frustrating ordeal for him. And then finally, I'm going to say it was probably maybe the 5th hour or so. He went back up for the third time, and I could see from his face, because there were things that happened in the car too, sexual wise. He kept trying to grab my hand and put it on his member, and at that point I grabbed the wheel, and that scared him. So he didn't try that again. It was maybe once, and that was it. Because I think he got the message that time, like, I will crash this car and kill us both. So by the third time he pulled off onto that guardrail road, I was starting to get exhausted. I was crying this entire time. I was just emotionally and physically just done. He'd finally gotten into my head, and I didn't feel like it was worth the fight anymore, honestly. I was like, how long can this go on? You eventually got to run out of gas or something. But when he got out of the car the third time, I automatically tried to move over to get ready to kick like I had the previous times. However, he had a weapon at this time that he then pulled out. And at that point, I was just kind of like, you tried, and I surrendered. And we got out of the car, and he, by knife point, took me as far into the woods, I guess, as he felt comfortable. And he attacked me. He literally took every ounce of innocence that I had left as a just turned 18-year-old girl. I had little to no experience with sex at this point, and he just violated me in every way possible and basically laughed at me the entire time. And it was all I could do to just lay there and pretend I wasn't there and try to, detach myself from the situation. After, he finished, I guess, satisfying himself, he kind of went over why and how and what was going on. It was kind of like a villain story, honestly, to where he just basically was like, he didn't even go to the school. He had a flat tire and he happened to see me. He noticed I was by myself and that I didn't touch my phone for a long period of time, which to him meant nobody's checking in on me. Nobody cares. I'm a loner. No
So
one
come
wants
to
me at the
find
bar.
out, Christy, so come to find out, he didn't even attend the college.
No.
And he was stalking you the whole time.
He targeted me. Yeah.
Yes, he did.
For those 6 months, he targeted me.
And he knew that you were a loner. He knew that.
Yeah. He saw that I wasn't on my phone much, that I didn't go to the library with people much. I did a lot of things alone. That's just how I've always been. It's still how I am. So yeah, to him, that was just an easy target. And apparently I was.
So what happened after that? Well, were you ever able to report him? Did he get caught?
So after he kind of went over why he was doing what he was doing, he made it clear that he had every intention of killing me. And by that point, obviously, as you know, I was defeated. I was just laying there. I wasn't even, and my eyes weren't even open. But I knew that he had a knife, and I knew that I had no power left in me, especially after being brutally attacked like that. Because he had a knife on him, and there was knife play in there. And without going into detail, it was extremely devastating to my spirit and my will to live. Absolutely. And I know after he told me why he did it, there was a noise, because the noise is what caused me to open my eyes. I want to say it was an animal, honestly. It was just a very loud, like it sounded like somebody was coming, and he took off completely. I found my phone in the woods because I had laid there for a while until I worked up the strength. Like, okay, I think he's gone. I think I'm good. I got to try to figure this out because I can't stay here or I'm going to die. I'm getting a second chance here and I got to take it. And I definitely followed the trees because I felt
we can't hear you.
Hold on one second. Let me find out what's going on.
Okay. Oh.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I use the trees. I spent a lot of time outside, as a kid growing up. So I kind of know how to find my way in the dark and in the woods already. But this was just, it kind of was like I had cat vision because I could see everything clearly. And I have a photographic memory and kind of my sense of direction to find my way back to that guardrail road from the woods. And by then I had no shoes. I had, like bloody knees and feet. And it was just really bad. But I'm going to be honest with you. I just walked home. I found my way to the highway and I went back to my dorm.
Were you ever able to report the crime that he committed?
No.
Okay.
No.
What happened? What took place after that? What was life like for you after that happened?
I had a lot of guilt. Number one, shame to myself for allowing myself to be in that position, but also guilt because I didn't report it. And I didn't report it because I didn't know if anything that he had told me about his name, anything about him, whether that was actually true or not. Mm-hmm. And in my head, it seemed so extraordinary that I didn't think anybody could believe it. And I didn't want people to shame me further by not believing me or making me out to be a liar when I was already going through it in my mind. You know, in my mind, I couldn't even really confirm if the color of the car I thought that it was real. I,
Yeah, blaming yourself like we all do when things happen.
and I did for a really long time.
Right. Yes. That's understandable. A lot of us we go through that feeling of that guilt. Like it was our fault. It was our fault. When it had nothing to do with us. He was just a
Right.
sick person. So that's
That's
what
right.
that was. So after that took place, what was your life like? You didn't tell anybody. So did you pick up any kind of addictions?
I started drinking very heavily.
Wow.
Um, I did do antidepressants, but it wasn't really working. And I started failing in school, and I ended up just coming home.
Right.
And my family thought, you know, it was just because I was drinking so much and I was just a partier and an alcoholic, you know, because I was always like the golden child, the smart child. So for them to see me just give up, you know, was a totally different side of me they weren't expecting. So they blamed it on the alcohol and I allowed them to. And I still do. I still have not told them what happened.
Oh.
I would rather them think that is what happened than to give them that pain, knowing that I went through that. That someone they love went through something that traumatic. I don't want to give them that burden in my
Well,
head.
it's not a burden because you're healing now and you've overcome a lot of different things,
You're
right?
right. You're
And
right.
so they're going to be able to hear your story one day, whether you like it or not, because you're sharing it because you're sharing your story to help others, and so you
Right.
continue to heal yourself. Okay, so after that, you became an alcoholic. How long were you
Yeah.
an alcoholic for?
Up until April of this year, actually, about maybe 12 years. This was in 2010.
Okay, so over a decade.
Yeah.
And how long have you been sober now?
4 months. And it's not to say that I haven't had a drink. It's just that I have like controlled it. You know, I could go out and have a drink. I'm not getting blackout wasted every time I go out, or I don't feel the need when I'm home by myself to drink. So it's just more
So
learning
right
to control
now,
it.
so let's say it's fair to say that right now you're still working through that.
Yeah, you can say that.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I just use it more of a social thing now, or you know,
Well, because you're
that
not
kind of
right
situation.
now, you're not sober.
Technically, no. Yeah.
You're just not. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And so and that's what that is. You're still going through some things right now, and I really do appreciate that because a lot of people will try to hide that. Okay.
I
And
have for a
when
long
you're
time.
telling your story, you have to be real, right?
Yeah.
About
Mm-hmm.
who you are and what you are and what you're still doing. But guess what? You're still working through the pain and the traumas. And so,
Absolutely.
with that being said, that's what that is. So whoever's going through something today, we're still knowing that you can get through this. And
Right.
that's the truth. It's a choice, and you will overcome. One day you'll wake up and it's just going to be gone just away from you. But you've got to want it, okay? But still going through it and fighting each and every day and making steps, that's important. But one day you will be free from that. And you will when you're ready, you'll be free from it. Not trying to, because every person that's gone through something like that, I was once there. I was when well, let me just slow down. Let me just see because I want to still be a little social with my friends and I just want to have a drink. I want to still have that feeling every now and then. I don't want to just have to just stop. Oh my goodness, what's life gonna be like just doing that? That's boring. When I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, I made a choice and I was
Right.
awakened. After that moment of being awakened, I never looked back. But I was hungry for it. So you will be there, but you will know when it's right for you.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that we can talk about that because we know that there's people that's struggling with that and they think, well, maybe I I can't be able to do it. No, you can. Just give yourself some time. You have
And
to
be honest.
you be honest. And you have to know that you can and you will, and how far you have still come. So that's what's important, right?
Right.
Okay. So we're still going through the trauma and knowing that we're still moving forward and knowing that we're going to get there. Okay. So if you're
Yeah.
facing the still with the drinking or you're doing drugs, yes, the best thing to do is to stop, right? But
Right.
give yourself some time. You'll get there. Okay.
Yeah.
So after that, you became an alcoholic and you're not how you used to be, but you're not where exactly where you want to be. So we're still
Right.
going through that. And after that, after some time, what took place to make you, you'd never gotten sober, but things happened in your life that occurred, some more drama, some
Yeah.
more setbacks. What
Um,
happened there?
so in 2020, maybe in August, I accepted that I couldn't live like this anymore with the night terrors and feeling like I'm hiding something that I didn't need to hide. And I started seeing a therapist and started working on my trauma narrative. And maybe a month after, I lost my little sister. And she had just turned 18. It was very sudden, and I was very close to her. And it destroyed me completely. I broke, and I started turning to heavy drug usage. The
Yes,
drinking got worse
right,
because I didn't feel like I was worth living anymore. I didn't want to be here without her, honestly.
right,
Um, it was devastating, and it honestly led up to I crashed my car. I got in trouble with the law. I ended up making an attempt on my life because I just felt like I could not be here without her.
right.
And you know um, I got help, and I started going to therapy, and it's really helped to talk about it. And by doing that, I've really changed my life around. Like you said, I'm not 100% on go yet, but I see a future for myself, and that is what matters, and I'm working towards that.
Yes, you are.
And that's what's important, is recognizing, accepting who I was, why I was like that, and forgiving myself for why I was like that, and moving, using that, feeling to push myself forward. This is where I don't want to be anymore. It's okay that I was, but this is where we need to be now. So, pushing myself into the future, and where I am now, and all the things that I'm doing, and especially telling my story. It kind of feels like I'm giving a voice to that little girl who's just been like screaming inside of me for just someone to listen for so long. It's really gratifying to have that feeling.
I love that. So, Christy, we're about to wrap it up.
Mhm.
I want you to share with us how life is for you today and
Okay.
where our viewers can reach you.
Okay. So, as of right now, I am a mother to a beautiful 10-year-old boy. I am a Cub Scout den leader, an author. I am a podcast host. I work. I have my own apartment. I Everything is kind of settled. I feel safe. I've made my own safety. And beyond that, I'm also a comedian because I know how it feels to not want to smile or to have nothing to make me smile. So I've made it one of my main goals in life to make sure that anybody I see leaves my presence with a smile. If I'm that crazy, I will. So, just to bring that energy and that positivity and spread it. And I also, I'm working on telling my story more to, especially through here. So again, thank you for that. To give other people a perspective like mine, so we don't have to hold on to this. We can tell people it's okay. There's no shame in what happened to us. It was not our fault. So it just releases that burden for me, and I hope it helps other people. But if people want to find me on social media, you can find me on basically every platform under CA Kanooble, letter C, the letter A, and Kanooble, Kanooble. And I also have my Ho on the Go podcast, where I teach people how to please and be pleasing through sexual and self empowerment. And that's every Tuesday and Thursday live on Facebook and on YouTube, but also on all available streaming platforms. So,
Yes. Her podcast will help you survive and thrive, going
Right.
through the difficulties, embracing change.
And
And
yourself.
yes, and yourself, and giving yourself time. I
Yep.
am so happy that you came on the show today to share your story. Thank you so very much, Christy.
Thank
And
you for having me.
you're welcome, and so does our audience. And you have an angel. Your sister is your angel, and she is watching you thrive. And I
Yep.
love stories like that. And you are doing very well. You are nowhere like you were before. And
Right.
you were going through things in life still, but you are doing it with an eye so that you can see your future and to know where you're going to go. And
Yep.
you will keep thriving and you will get there. It's possible for you. So just
Yeah.
call
And
it.
I know that I deserve it now. So
Yes, and you know that. And that's makes the difference in the world. And I'm going to end us today with a poem by Douglas Mallock. It's fine today. Sure, this world is full of trouble. I ain't said it ain't. Lord knows I've had enough and double reason for complaint. Rain and storm have come to fret me. Skies are often gray. Thorns and brambles have come to beset me on the road, but say, ain't it fine today? What's the use in always weeping, making trouble last? What's the use in always keeping thinking of the past? Each must have his tribulations, water with his wine. Life, it ain't no celebration. Trouble, I've had mine. But today is fine. It's today that I'm living, not a month ago. Having, losing, taking, giving. It's time will so. Yesterday, a cloud of sorrow fell across the way. It may rain again tomorrow. It may rain, but say, ain't it fine today? My name is Mawusi Ragland, joined by Christy
Kanooble.
Kanooble, and I am so happy to have had her on my show today. So thank you so very much, Christy,
Thank you for
and
having me.
you're welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day. And thank you all for tuning in and listening. And we will be back soon. Is there anything you would like to say to the audience before you leave?
Um, you're worth it. Any of it. You are worth a better life and a fully fulfilled life. And do not let anyone or anything that has happened to you make you feel differently. You deserve everything that makes you happy, everything that brings you joy. Do it. You get one life. You never know how long it's going to be, and you need to live it. You don't want to live life, you want to love it. Okay. You want to live a life full of value that you feel fulfilled by. So move with intent, live your life with intent, and have a purpose and have goals and crush them. Crush them because you can and you're worth it. And that's at the end of the day what matters is knowing that you're worth it. So,
Yes. Having faith, stepping out on faith,
yes.
believing in yourself, knocking down fear, come forth and tell your story and be heard because that's why we're here, right? We're the only people that have dominion over the earth. Enjoy. See you later. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye. Thank
Enjoy.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you.